You ask any poker player the key to success in this great game and count how long it is before they mention position. Good cards, patience, well-timed aggression, yeah, they all help. But what you really need to understand is how where you're sat changes everything.
There's no right or wrong way to play poker. There's not one method that will guarantee success, but there are ways and means for you to maximize your chances of winning. There are good habits and bad habits. There are situations to avoid and situations to seek. And there are those who have the knowledge to exploit them. We're going to teach you how to master the game, from the basics to the advanced.
In the last show, we took our first look at position. We explained exactly what it was and why it's so important to the game. Now we have grasped a basic understanding of position, it's time to delve deeper into the subject and work out how to use it to improve your game. Ladies and gents, this is Position 2.
Today's show looks at why your position at the poker table is so important and how understanding this can give you an edge over your opponents. This series looks at poker played all over the world, but today we look at some European Poker Tour action from London. We'll get in-depth analysis from the 2005 World Series of Poker winner Joe Hasham, and we travel to Barcelona, where we hear how it all began for four of the game's biggest talents: Barbero, Jorgensen, Barry, and Negrano. All this plus top tips, terminology crunching, and a couple of questions to check you're paying attention. Okay then, let's kick it all off with the first of today's tutorials, hands to play in early position.
The three positions to the left of the dealer are early position, and they are the small blind, the big blind, and under the gun. This tutorial will outline which hands to play in these positions. When you're under the gun, play premium hands only. In terms of pairs, our advice is to play ace-ace to 10-10. And for unpaired cards, play ace-king or ace-queen. Do not play hands like ace-9 or king-queen offsuit because they will get you in a lot of trouble if the community cards give you top pair and an opponent has you outkicked. Technically speaking, the blinds are early position, but pre-flop, they are last to act. So before the flop, if you are in the small blind and everyone is folded, you only have the big blind to act behind you. So consider raising with less than premium cards. Be more cautious if you feel that your opponent is a tricky player who is likely to re-raise you. If someone is called before you, we suggest that you raise with any pairs above 8-8. For unsuited hands, raise with ace-jack or better. Call with suited connectors, and call with any two suited cards higher than a 10. Don't forget that you will be the first to act, and therefore out of position for the rest of the hand, so proceed with caution. If somebody has raised before you, play very tight and carefully. Re-raise with extremely strong hands, like queen-queen or above if paired, or ace-king if unpaired. If you have a lot of chips, it's worth calling with lower pairs, suited connectors, or suited one gappers. If you hit a flush, three of a kind, or a straight, you could win a lot of chips.
Recap. The key thing to remember about playing hands in early position is that you have the disadvantage of acting first in each round of betting, so play strong hands only and stay away from marginal ones, which could get you into trouble. Don't forget, these are just guidelines. We always advise mixing your play up so you're less predictable. In 2007, 22-year-old college student Brett Parise won the first event of the Asia Pacific Poker Tour. This part-time player won his ticket via a free-to-enter tournament on PokerStars. See, you don't have to be a pro to win at poker. Keep watching. Before we go any further, here's more of that all-important poker lingo.
I'm Henri.
The whole enchilada?
It's at least a flip, right? I push you fold, yeah? No sweat.
All in. Going all in is the boldest move in poker. It's when a player bets all their remaining chips. It usually means a player is betting a large amount and forcing their opponent to make a big decision.
I'm all in.
Burn card. A burn card is a card that is discarded or burnt by the dealer before the flop, turn and river card. Burn cards were introduced to stop cheating players as it made it hard to rig the deck. Open. To open or to open the betting is simply to make the first bet in any given hand. Steal. A steal is when a player with poor cards attempts to win the pot by making their opponents fold by betting. The most typical time to attempt to steal is before the flop is dealt, as both the small and big blinds are there for the taking.
Time for the second part of today's tutorial. Here's what hands to play in middle or late position. When in middle position, you can open up the range of hands you choose to play. If everyone else has folded before you act, then you should try to avoid just limping. Always open the betting with a raise. You should raise with pairs 7s and above. If unpaired, raise with ace, jack to ace, king, or any two-suited cards higher than a 10. Raising with lower suited connectors should also be considered. If someone has already called before you, call with small to medium pairs up to 9-9. Suited cards higher than a 10 and suited connectors. If an opponent has raised already, re-raise with pairs 10, 10 and above. High cards ace, king, or ace, queen. And you can call with suited connectors or pairs 9, 9 and below. Be careful going forward. If your opponent has raised in early position, they could be holding very strong cards. Okay, let's look at the hands to play in late position. In late position, you can open up your range of hands considerably. If everybody before you has folded, raise with any pair. Raise with any suited ace, and any ace with a 7 or higher if unsuited. Also raise with any two cards 10 or higher, and any suited connectors. In late position, be aggressive. Raise or fold. Calling should not be an option. If somebody has called before you, raise with a pair of 10s or higher. If unpaired, ace-jack to ace-king. Call with any other pair. Suited cards 9 or higher. Any suited ace, and any suited connectors. If someone has raised before you, tighten up a bit more and only re-raise with pairs 10, 10 or above, ace-queen or ace-king. And call with medium pairs or suited connectors. Like any position, try to mix up your game to make it harder for opponents to guess what you have. Just like in this hand, where the American Hall has raised, but then Dario Minieri, here in late position, chooses to re-raise with the mighty 6-4 of clubs. This forces the initial raiser Hall, holding Queen 10, to fold, as he doesn't fancy the prospect of playing an aggressive pro such as Dario Minieri out of position. Not a situation any player would like to find themselves in.
Apparently these people didn't do their homework on the young Italian.
Recap.
Now you should know which hands to play in middle and late positions. You should play more hands than you did in early positions and play them more aggressively. But don't take that idea too far. At some point, your opponent will have a monster hand. Always know when to fold.
And if you want to watch that again, or recap any of the videos in the series, or perhaps join in at a later stage, then go to everythingpoker.com. Everything you want to know about poker is divided into 2 levels. Level 1, the novice level. It tells you everything you need to know to get started in the game. You'll be a competent player by the end of these 6 shows. Learn the power of position, the art of bluffing, and all the basics. Once you've got the basics, we delve deeper. Level 2, the experience level, covers getting information from your opponents and the nuances of playing hands dependent on their strength and their potential. It focuses on playing styles, strategies, and tips you'll need to succeed and how to avoid costly mistakes. Following the review show at the end of Level 2, we should have covered everything you wanted to know about poker, and you will be ready to become a successful player.
13 shows designed to give you a unique insight into the world of poker. The cards, the players, we go behind the scenes. Find out what it takes to be a success at the tables. Learn the good habits and eradicate the bad habits.
This guy just tried a 4-bet a steaming pro, then float the turn.
Learn some tricks of the trade.
You just have to pick your right times to bluff.
The best in the business want to share their experience with you. They want to see you at the tables, even if you might not be so keen to be staring back at them. It's everything he wants to know about poker, but we're afraid to ask. Time for some words of wisdom now, as 2005 World Series of Poker champ Joe Hashem explains how being in position can save you those precious chips.
Today we're going to talk about the importance of position and how it can help you make the best decisions regarding your hand. In this particular example, we're going to see how Smokey makes a really good fold. So let's have a look at the hand. Pablo, who is in first position, has a very strong hand. He has a pair of queens. He elects to raise to 300. Right behind him is Silas with a pair of aces, the very best hand you can have in poker. He re-raises to 900. In late position, Smokey's sitting there with a pair of tens. Now he's seen that Pablo raised, Silas re-raised, and has thought it out and decided that his pair of tens probably isn't the best hand here and could easily be beaten. He elects to fold. The action moves back around to Pablo, who elects to move all his chips into the middle with his pair of queens, believing that he may have the best hand. But obviously we know Silas has the best hand. Silas quickly calls with his pair of aces, and the board runs out. Silas wins the hand, eliminates Pablo. But the important lesson here is that Smokey lost no chips because he was able to use his position to work out that his hand wasn't good enough to play, and he folded the hand.
Time for a break, but before we go, here's a quick question to test what you've just learnt about position. Imagine you're under the gun at a full table and get dealt king-queen. What should you do? Should you A, call, B, raise, or C, fold? Come back after the break to see if you're correct. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you what you should do if you're dealt king-queen under the gun at a full table. Well, the answer is C, fold. Although it seems strong, king-queen is not what we call a premium hand, and therefore should be thrown into the muck so as to avoid getting into a pot against a monster. Time now to remind ourselves of what we learnt in part 1 and review which hands to play in different positions as we open the vault.
Action comes from the European Poker Tour and the London event in Season 7. On a star-studded table, action is folded to Dario Minieri in mid-position, who looks down to find Ace-Queen. If you're first to enter the pot, we recommend raising with Ace-Jack to Ace-King, and sure enough, Dario pumps it up to 3 big blinds. Action then moves to Bagnotti in lay position on the button, the prime position on the table. We recommend calling a raise from this position with suited connectors. And sure enough, that's what he does. Behind Bagnotti, Christopher Chow in the small blind or early position holds King-Jack. What do we recommend? Calling with suited one-gappers from this position, providing the raise isn't too large. Wise calls from the button and small blind, as suited connectors like these have the potential to hit big flops, and it's worth the pre-flop investment in case they should hit, just like they do here.
Chow flops the world and Bagnotti flops the universe. He has the stone nuts 7 to jack.
The flop gives Bagnotti a straight, the nuts in fact. Think he's glad he called with suited connectors in late position? The flop also justifies Chow's pre-flop call with the King-Jack of hearts. He now holds top pair and a flush drawer. What happened next? Well, Dario Minieri gets out of the way, while Christopher Chow has the misfortune of making 2 pair on the turn.
And look at this. This is going to be disastrous for Chow. Chow has now turned the galaxy, but yet Bagnotti still holds the universe.
A player could fall in love with a hand like that. Chow, however, makes a first-class fold. Well done, sir. We'll look at the art of folding in more detail in Show 7, but for now, heed the lessons of calling with 9-10 of diamonds in late position. You might just hit the nuts.
Position, the single most important concept in poker. Maybe, we think. Well, we'll put it to a vote. Anyway, here's 2005 World Series of Poker champ Joe Hashem to break down some more positional play for us.
Today we're going to see how you can use your position to bully other players when they show weakness. In the hand that we're going to look at today, Mr. Razor raises to 150 with a pair of 9s, and Centipede elects to call with Jack King of Hearts. However, Boomer, with a pair of 8s, calls behind him. Let's see the flop. So we see a flop of Ace Queen 4. Mr. Razor checks, and so does Centipede. Now Boomer has information about his opponents and what he perceives to be weakness. He elects to bet 400 chips with his pair of 8s, basically saying to his opponents that I have an ace or a queen or both. Now this works well and truly because both opponents fold. He's basically betting on the fact that his opponents don't have an ace or a queen. He used the power of his position to bluff his opponents out of the pot.
Thanks for that, Joe. I've always admired those players that can win with the worst hand. Here's a few more great bits of advice.
My biggest tip as a poker player is to play hands in position. Don't worry about your cards. Really think about who is in the blinds when you're raising, and be much more likely to raise a lot more suited connectors on the button or in the cutoff seat or even in the hijack.
Position is very powerful in poker in No Limit Hold'em. Don't get caught playing in early position without really strong hands. If you're in later position, you have power because you get to see other people act before you. Until you get the confidence and the knowledge and the understanding of the game to play hands from early position, restrict those hands to the top 10% of hands.
Take it very easy in the beginning. Look at your opponents, see how they play. So play very tight in the beginning till you have a feeling about how the other guys at the table are playing. And then start playing your game.
Pens at the ready, time for everyone's favorite.
Never participate in a showdown.
You have to steal the odd time.
On the flush draw.
And if you show me yours, I'll consider showing you mine.
What do you consider a genuine hand?
Pair of 2s.
More poker lingo. Air. The term air is given to a hand with no value. When you make a raise without even a pair as a bluff, this is commonly called raising with air. Cooler. A cooler is when you have a very strong hand that you assume must be winning, only for your opponent to have an even stronger hand. The most obvious example of a cooler is being dealt kings when your opponent has aces. Heater. A heater is the name for a period of time when everything is going your way. You are being dealt great hands. You are winning every pot you are in, and your chip stack is becoming ginormous. Steaming. The word steaming is given to a player who is extremely angry.
It's so bad. What are you doing?
Following a hand that didn't go their way.
That's the sickest thing ever.
Once a player is steaming,
Oh my God.
they're likely to make bad decisions, and more often than not, they will continue losing.
That is ridiculous.
If you want to learn more about poker, then go to pokerstars.net. Okay, time for today's powwow. The Barcelona EPT event, the biggest names in poker face off in a €5,000 buy-in. not for the faint-hearted. These guys mean business, but they were all beginners once. Green shoots in the garden of No Limit Texas Hold'em. And somewhere in Barcelona, 34 floors above the tournament area, 4 well-known faces from the world of poker look back to where it all began for them. WPT champion and World Series of Poker bracelet winner Theo Jorgensen is in attendance, along with poker's Iron Maiden and EPT champion Liv Beret, back-to-back LAPT winner Nacho Barbero, and the player with the highest tournament earnings of all time, Daniel Negreanu, decided to drop in.
So I know you box like Gus Hansen. I know you've been a poker player, but I don't really know your story. I mean, how did you get into poker in the first place?
I think I started off in the 5th or 6th grade, something like that, when I was playing with my school.
5th or 6th grade?
Yeah.
Were you playing for money or just chilling?
We were playing. I remember a huge bluff for around $2.
Nice.
Which had the whole thing going.
So what was your story? Like, how did you get into poker? Like, what were you doing before that?
I was actually playing Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering is a card game which can be played online. Several successful poker players, including Elke and David Williams, played Magic before moving across to poker.
Oh, you're a Magic guy? Like David Williams and all them?
I was like traveling around the world playing that game.
Wow.
And then, so like everybody made like the transition and to poker. But we all studied online playing Limit.
So you were like a professional Magic player before you were a poker player, but you weren't making any money?
So I was making money. I was making money enough to live and to travel around the world.
So you didn't have a job?
I didn't have a job, but
what did you do? Did you have a job before you played Magic?
I never had a job.
You've never had a job
life.
in your whole life?
No.
Wow.
Did you actually finish school?
I finished school, then I went to college, law school, but I quit because I started playing Magic around the world.
So you gave up being a lawyer to play Magic. Like, I never really played Magic, but all the guys that played Magic seem to be really good poker players. So the game obviously has a lot of similarities to poker, right? So you play Magic, or have you ever played Magic?
Never played it. I want to try it.
What was your deal? You were like a guitarist, crazy rocker chick, physicist, something?
Well, yeah, I was at university studying physics, being a crazy rocker chick, just playing guitar all the time. No, I actually graduated. And then it was after that. It was actually after that I moved down to London. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life at all. And saw an advert for a reality TV show, and I was like, well, I'll apply for this. It said you could win some money. And they didn't say what it was that you'd be doing. And they had all these auditions, and they chose me as one of the 5 contestants, and then they did this big sort of reveal that they were going to be teaching us how to play poker, and then we'd play against each other for this money. So I was like, okay, I mean, I'd heard of the game, but I'd never played a hand of poker in my life.
How many years ago was this?
5 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, I just completely fell in love with the game instantly. I was like, wow, how did I not know about this? And then I met some of the pros that were teaching us to play and saw how they traveled the world and kind of lived like rock stars and played a game that uses the mind. And was competitive and fun, and they could make millions of dollars. I was like, that's like the best job ever. So
I was a limit guy, limit hold'em. You know, we played all different kinds of games when I was younger, like wildcard games. But when I grew up, in high school, I was playing Monday to Friday, noon to 8, limit hold'em.
Limit Hold'em follows the same rules as Texas Hold'em, but the amount you can bet is restricted at all times, unlike No Limit Hold'em.
I had all my friends do it. We'd show up at noon, quit at 8 p.m., and once a month we'd get wasted and drink, and we called it party day. It's pretty amazing that, you got 4 people here all doing the same thing for a living, but came from totally different places. You played with your friends in school because they were all suckers, and all of a sudden you're playing in all the big tournaments. This guy was a Magic player, playing with friends, like just trying to make a living doing that, and you were just some random reality TV chick, physicist, rocker girl, who happened to find poker and just fell in love with it. So it's like, just goes to show that this world represents so many different types of ways to get into it, for sure.
Well, there you have it. We all have to start somewhere. Let's look at what we've learned today. We looked at which hands to play in early, middle, and late position. We saw how mistakes can be avoided by watching the actions of other players. Plus, we explored how being in position can allow you to win pots you otherwise wouldn't.
To practice all you've learned in the show today, go to pokerstars.net and follow the simple instructions for downloading the free software. Once on the site, this week's task is to play your hands following the guidelines in the tutorial part of the show. Over time, it'll help you maximize your winnings and minimize your losses, and that is what the game is all about.
On the next show, we look at everyone's favorite part of the game, bluffing. When executed correctly, it's an art form. When it all goes wrong, well, it just goes wrong.
All in. Call.
There'll be further analysis from World Series champ Joe Hashem. We'll find out the secrets behind the success of poker's hottest property, Nacho Barbero, a man who can't stop winning. And we find out which players are the best bluffers.
I actually went to school with Bon Jovi, and we used to play music together in his garage.
We'll see you next time.